Good morning. My name is Arastu. I've been in Bollywood 5 years now and have struggled a lot. So I'll just share the process of making a film using the language of product design. And at the end, we will all actually make a film together, real time, over here. So let me jump straight in. How do I define filmmaking for the purpose of today's session? So there's a lot of confusion always. One of the most common questions I get is, ये producer करता क्या है? Producer पैसे डालता है? ये क्या करता है? So why I'm bringing this up is a producer will say film मैं ही बनाता हूँ, director will say film मैं बनाता हूँ, writer will say film का foundation मैं ले करता हूँ. तो सबको लगेगा वो film make कर रहे हैं, right? When I say filmmaking, I view filmmaking from an entrepreneurial mindset. That I want to make a specific film, okay? And I will do whatever it takes to get that film made. It's as simple as that. Let's say if I've gone there and I have an idea and I'm thinking, ठीक है मेरे को ना idea मेरा इतना महान है, मेरे को कहीं चलते चलते करण जौहर मिल जाएगा और बोलेगा भाई तुम ही हो ऑस्कर ला के दोगे, चलो भाई सारे पैसे ले लो, सब कर लो. वो हुआ नहीं, right? So then I have to sit and write the script. To write a script, I need to learn how to write a script. So I need to develop, I need to read screenplays, I need to watch films, I need to compare them to their scripts, I need to make mistakes and fail while writing a script and then write a script. Once I've written a script, what's next? I'll say I want to direct it. A producer will say, who the fuck are you? Right? So then I need to find a director. So then pitching at that point will be the definition of filmmaking. Let's say I found a director. Now producer kahan se aayega? So producer ढूंढना है. So now pitching to a producer will become the definition of filmmaking. If and when I find a producer signs a contract with me, then it becomes his or her property. Now filmmaking ka definition is to wait. So many times have contract signed or not signed and yet not be able to do anything about it. Right? So when I say filmmaking, I mean anything that needs to be done to get a film made. So let me talk of what I remember of the product design process from the college board days. When I was running this startup, this was the broad, zoomed out product design process, right? Need, क्या problem है, क्या problem solve करनी है, उस पे जितना हो सके research करो, so that you know more, it's not just anecdotal first-hand experience. Then brainstorm, go crazy with your ideation. Then actually go about implementing your solution. And then you, through analytics, through various tools, you measure the success or failure of the solution you've come up with. And then go back and make changes, and that's a continuous circle. So this was the larger process that I remember, okay? So this presentation is modeled on this process. Making a film through this process, because essentially the process of making something is actually not very different in all fields. It's largely the same. So I am saying my hypothesis is that the process of making things is largely common across all domains. And that is why it is not a very wild swing to combine product design with filmmaking. Because largely, as I hope I'll be able to demonstrate through this presentation, it is the same process. Okay? So now let's go step by step. And at the end, as I said, we'll make a film. We'll try to make a film. Okay? Need. To me, this is the single most important question before we start making anything, not just a film. It could be a product. It could be anything. Most people end up asking, how are you making something? I've always been bothered by why are you making something? If you have a strong why, several hows will come to you. But if you don't have a why, no amount of hows will ever sustain, ever. So this is the single greatest fundamental building block of making a film. Now I'll tell you in my experience in Bombay, which are the most common whys which are being applied in Bombay. So, one time a director in Bombay called me, okay, and said, यार तू स्क्रिप्ट भी लिखता है ना, तो तेरे पास कोई हॉरर कॉमेडी पड़ी है? मैंने कहा मेरे पास कोई हॉरर कॉमेडी पड़ी, मेरे को चना ममरा जैसा कमोडिटी थोड़ी है कि हर जॉनर में एक एक बना के रखी हुई है. मैंने कहा नहीं पड़ी है. मैंने कहा अच्छा तो तू राइटर है ना, लिख दे. ऐसे राइटर वो लिख दे, ऐसे तू कौन है भाई, कभी जिंदगी में मिला भी नहीं, कुछ बैकग्राउंड से दे, क्या है? ही सेड यार बड़ा सिंपल है, वो स्त्री चल गई ना तो प्रोड्यूसर को हॉरर कॉमेडी चाहिए, राइट? पर ओरिजिनल होनी चाहिए, स्त्री जैसी नहीं चाहिए, ओरिजिनल होनी चाहिए, ठीक है? दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन इज अ वेरी शॉर्ट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द मोस्ट कॉमन रीजन व्हाई अ फिल्म इज मेड इन बॉम्बे. एक था टाइगर चली तो टाइगर जिंदा है बनी, तो टाइगर 3 बनी, तो पठान बनी, ठीक है? तो टाइगर वर्सेस पठान बन रही है. बट एसेंशियली व्हाई आर दे मेकिंग दीज फिल्म्स? बिकॉज द फर्स्ट वर्क. या हवा चली है, राइट? कश्मीर फाइल्स, गदर, और कौन सी है? 72 हुरे, हम दो हमारे 24, पीएम नरेंद्र मोदी, बहुत सारी फिल्म्स है, वो एक हवा पे चल रही है. दे आर ऑल राइडिंग ऑन वन हवा एंड अ लॉट ऑफ देम आर वर्किंग. सो वॉर, नेशनलिज्म, patriotism, anti something sentiment, the something or someone is generally the same. So वो एक हवा पे राइड होने वाली फिल्म्स है. And sequels are self-explanatory, right? Sequel is a simple marketing budget decision. The characters are known to people, the world is known to people, the success of the previous film is known. Marketing में नहीं spend करना पड़ेगा, तो वो बजट प्रोडक्शन में डाल दो, राइट? क्योंकि आज इवन टुडे मुन्ना भाई चले अमेरिका is actually announced, everyone will go watch it. मुन्ना भाई चले अमेरिका का टीजर भी है यूट्यूब पे, बट वो आगे नहीं बनी because Sanjay Dutt had those legal issues and went to jail. But the whole point of a sequel, how many of you know कि Fukre 2 or 3 released recently? Do you know that it nearly touched 100 crores? It'll be a shock to most people, but it did. And that's the power of a sequel. That most of the variables are negated. Because the producer is like proven concept, proven team, proven star cast, very low marketing budget, low risk. Go with it, right? And even for the set of people associated with that, it is a Rozgar Yojana. कुछ नहीं तो ये तो है ही, right? ये Friends, Big Bang Theory कितने seasons तक चले गए? 12, 15, 20, 25, and the last few seasons were not good of most of them, but they kept riding on it and we kept watching it because that familiarity gives us a lot of comfort. So this, in my experience, is the single biggest factor of why a film is made in Bombay. What is the second factor? Very simple, right? Later we are going to talk extensively about star power and leverage, but right now talk about it in short, because someone in a position of power wants something, it will happen. It's as simple as that. Now that person can be an angry star, it can be a mild star, it can be a director, it can be a producer, it can be anyone. I was just telling Rakesh inside that recently a film has released named Animal, right? Sandeep Vanga Reddy is the director. Sandeep Vanga Reddy की लाइफ की ये थर्ड फिल्म है. पहली फिल्म थी एक तेलुगु फिल्म अर्जुन रेड्डी, वो बहुत छोटे बजट में बनी थी, बहुत ही छोटे. आई थिंक इट वाज अराउंड लाइक 4-5 CR टाइप. एंड तेलुगु इंडस्ट्री में एक्टर्स आर जनरली लिमिटेड टू अ फ्यू फाइनाइट फैमिलीज, स्पेशली द मेल्स. द फीमेल्स आर एकदम वाइट पेंटेड गर्ल्स फ्रॉम नॉर्थ इंडिया, but the males are generally 4-5 families के fixed actors हैं. So what he did was he had this idea कि भाई boy goes, पागल दीवानापन मेरी बंदी है सालों छोड़ दो, blah blah. He had this idea, but he didn't have that budget, he didn't have that access. So he found a newcomer in Vijay Deverakonda, and I think Rashmika Mandana was the heroine. He made that film, and at a budget of 4-5 crores, it made 40-50 crores. So the ROI was excellent. Based on that, Bollywood went gaga, well, idhar aao, idhar banao, yaar. And Bollywood called him, and he made Kabir Singh. And even people like Ranveer Singh turned it down because they found it too negative, too scary. Shahid Kapoor did it. Again, Shahid Kapoor's stock was not high until that point. Kiara Advani was not high until that point. That is the film that made her career. Kabir Singh had great music, and the concept worked in Hindi. It became a 200 crore plus hit. Once that happened, with Animal, Sandeep Vanga Reddy was like, bhai, aapko jo karna hai karo. Everyone was telling him that. So Animal is a 3 hours 21 minutes film. Killers of the Flower Moon, I think, was that much, right? And if I go and say, मुझे 3 hours 21 minutes, they'll be like, कुर्सी पे बैठना भी मत, गोल घूम के निकल जाओ यहाँ से, ठीक है? So it is not about merit in Bombay. And when I say Bombay, it is Bollywood. Bombay is a very good city, but when I say Bombay, it is Bollywood, okay? It is about leverage. And there are various reasons. It's like saying कि यार मेरे पास बहुत ही अच्छा आइडिया है स्टार्टअप का, और मैं एक स्टार्टअप इन्वेस्टर के पास जा रहा हूँ, वो क्यों मुझे पैसे नहीं दे रहा है? क्योंकि पैसा का रिस्क लेना ईजी नहीं होता है. सबको ये देखना होता है कि आपका पास्ट ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड में क्या सक्सेसेस हैं, और अगर सक्सेस है तो सच में मेरिट नहीं है, आप उल्लू बना रहे हो तो भी बन जाएंगे. That is how Bombay works. So if a star wants something, it will be made, and then no questions will be asked. The struggle is to become the star. That is the entire struggle that you need to put in. So these are the two most common reasons in my experience in Bombay. Now I'll come to my reason. How many of you have watched this film, Arrival? Right? Like it? Arrival was adopted by a guy called Eric Heiserer. He was the screenplay writer of Arrival. Okay? It is made from a book that was written in 1998. Okay? He made a short film to prove his worth in 2013. And Arrival was released in 2016. 1998 में लिखी हुई किताब थी, उसने उसके बाद के 1-2 साल में उस पे से स्क्रिप्ट लिख ली थी. 13 साल और रुका, एक शॉर्ट फिल्म फिर खुद से डायरेक्ट की टू प्रूव हिज वर्थ, और उसके 3 साल बाद अराइवल बनी. एंड यू वॉच अराइवल. अराइवल इज अ नो ब्रेनर, राइट? इट वाज नॉवेल, इट वाज यूनिक, इट वाज अपीलिंग, इट वाज अ ब्लॉकबस्टर. बट एज आई सेड, लेवरेज, पावर. टू प्रूव हिज वर्थ, it took him 16 years minimum. But he persisted because खुजली. उसको था, अंदर कीड़ा था, right? We talk about nepotism है, उसका अपना डिबेट है, but still जोया अख्तर की एक फेमस स्टोरी है. जोया अख्तर in terms of filmmakers was born in the most prestigious family that one could be born in, right? Javed Akhtar's daughter, Farhan Akhtar's sister, and Farhan is younger than her, but Farhan succeeded a lot sooner. Have you watched Luck by Chance? Right? In my opinion, it is Zoya's best film. She tried getting Luck by Chance made for 7 years. She couldn't find producers, she couldn't find actors. Because actors were like, negative role यार, ये तो मतलब कितना लीड तो तुम्हारा लास्ट में तो चू बन जाता है, मतलब वो तो कोंकणा हीरोइन हो जाती है, ऐसा कैसे, मतलब ऐसा कैसे चलेगा, मैं नहीं करूँगा. So the only actor who stuck by her was Rishi Kapoor. And he was quite surprised कि बाकी सारे लोग मान क्यों नहीं रहे. So then Farhan became successful as a director, then he became a producer. And by then Zoya and Reema had already written Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. And that was sort of a sure success कि यार ये तो चलने ही वाली है. But Farhan, now this is where the nepotism angle comes in. Farhan, brother है. Farhan had agreed, okay, I'll produce Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. But Farhan said on the condition that you will make Luck by Chance first. कितनी अच्छी condition है. You know? So Zoya said, मैं तो बना लूंगी, पर actor कहाँ है? Farhan said, मैं करूँगा act. Produce भी करूँगा, act भी करूँगा. And that is how Luck by Chance came to life. Concept number 2, research. And when it comes to research, there is a fundamental myth or misnomer that I feel exists. People feel research is external to them. You know, they feel कि किसी और से जाके क्वेश्चनर भरवाओ या किसी और से जाके कुछ पूछो तो वो रिसर्च है. मेरा मानना है कि योर लाइफ्स ग्रेटेस्ट रिसर्च इज लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस. लाइफ्स ग्रेटेस्ट रिसर्च इज लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस. There was a famous quote, I don't remember the exact wording, but broadly it said, blessed are the artists who have suffered as children. Because you have so much fuel to draw from, right? Rockstar में इम्तियाज अली did an okay job trying to explain that कि दर्द आने से artist कैसा बनता है. But I don't think it was a great job at explaining that. But life experience के जैसा कोई fuel नहीं हो सकता. No amount of money, no amount of degrees, this, that, blah, blah, social validation, prestige, Insta likes can substitute life experience. And when I say life experience, I don't mean ke go sit in an earthquake shaking building and go suffer in a riot and go have a very violent father. I'm not saying those things. I'm saying most people watch, but do they see? Do you have the vision to observe something that is happening in your life in a method that you can make a story out of? So many times it is said that यार ये कोई फेमस इंसान नहीं है, ऐसा कैसे बना, ऐसा क्यों बना, इसकी बचपन में ऐसा क्या एक चीज हो गई थी जिससे ऐसा बन गया. बट आई थिंक दैट इज अ फैलेसी. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता, कोई एक चीज कभी नहीं होती जिससे आप कैसे कुछ बन जाते हो. वो बोलते हैं ना, वो बहुत सारे फिल्म इंटरव्यूज में पूछते हैं, व्हिच इज द वन फिल्म दैट चेंज्ड योर लाइफ. बुलशिट, बकवास. सब लोग के पास जवाब होता है मैंने ना स्पेस ऑडिसी देखी, मेरी लाइफ बदल गई। अरे यार बोर होके बंद कर दिया होगा तूने, बकवास है, कुछ भी नहीं है। कोई एक फिल्म किसी की लाइफ नहीं बदलती। आपकी बदली है किसी भी एक फिल्म ने अपनी लाइफ? You like films, sure, and you watch maybe hundreds of them, and gradually it adds up to a lot of things happening in your life, and your life may shift a bit. But ये बहुत है ना, बहुत fantasy है. So, life experience, when I say, I mean this thing that is happening right now. Does someone here have the vision to represent it in a manner that will appeal to most people? It's very simple. And of course, try and push yourself to have as many diverse life experiences as possible. But while yes, we must try to increase the probability of having such experiences, more important is having that eye. Let me tell you a little bit about traditional research, right? Going externally and researching something. Everyone knows this film, right? Do you know who wrote it? So generally, Christopher Nolan writes with his brother, Jonathan Nolan. Not all films, but most films, including this film. To be able to write the script for Interstellar, Jonathan Nolan went and enrolled himself in a 4-year course in Caltech to study relativity. He did a 4-year course in relativity in Caltech to be able to write the script for Interstellar. Right? So when I love Interstellar. Each time I watch it, it makes me cry because it asks me profound philosophical questions about life, existential questions. But that level of magic doesn't just happen. कि किसी एक relativity scientist से एक interview कर लिया, Google Meet पे हो गया, research खत्म हो गया. Then you can't reach those depths. You just simply cannot, you know. So to go to the depth of something, and let us just sort of understand, if someone can look up their Wikipedia, just tell me Interstellar का budget and Interstellar का box office. Can someone do that, please? 17 crores. 70 crores USD. How much is that in rupees? Can someone multiply that by 80? 5,600 crore rupees. Right? And it came out in which year?
2014.
9 years ago. 9 years ago, Interstellar made 5,600 crore rupees. Abhi hamara greatest ever box office success Jawan tha, which was 1,000 crores. 11 years later. To reach, I mean, let's just understand what is 5,600 crores, right? Great. Money guy. So, let's just understand what this means. I mean, imagine a company आप बना रहे हो and your goal is to make 8,000 crores revenue. Imagine the amount of work, the scale, the team that will have to go in. Sometimes people fail to view a film as a product. And Bollywood only views a film as a product. But just imagine to make 8,000 crores on a venture, the amount of work that needs to go in. And when the writer is writing, it is one person doing all of it. To me, it is the single most important person because that is the chronologically the first building block. वो नहीं है तो बाद में Oscar winners सारे आ जाए, कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Right? A book writer friend of mine once told me that writing is essentially a process of getting comfortable with failure. That's what it is. One of my favorite writers, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Fleabag, Killing Eve, Crashing, says, writing is 90% procrastination. And if a writer can't learn how to be alone, then they can never get great writing done. One of my favorite films, Gravity, uska director Alfonso Cuarón, uska quote hai, so I come up with an idea and then a lot of time is spent lying in the prone position, lying in the sitting position, lying in the standing position, and then writing the script. And that is true. 100% true. It is the single hardest thing I have done in my life. And it is the 4th or 5th thing I am doing. But it is the single hardest thing. Like Ashutosh Gawariker, who made Lagan, he went and pitched the first version of Lagan to Amir Khan. And Amir Khan hated it so much कि बोला ना सिर्फ मैं ये नहीं करूँगा, तू ये फिल्म बॉलीवुड में बनाएगा भी नहीं. शायद वो स्क्रिप्ट थोड़ी खराब होगी, बट ऐसा भी नहीं है कि आमिर खान हमेशा सही होता है, right? Watch Thugs of Hindustan. So Ashutosh Gawariker sat in his home and reworked on the script for a very, 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 very long time, right? And he was like, मैं दिन भर घर पे बैठा हूँ, कंप्यूटर के सामने बस बैठ जाता हूँ सुबह से रात, और बच्चे थोड़े बड़े हो रहे थे, माँ को बोले कि मम्मी दूसरों के ना फ्रेंड्स के पापा ऑफिस जाते, पापा कुछ काम भी करते हैं. And then he reworked and he went to Amir Khan again. And Amir Khan बोले, साले तू अभी भी इस पे बोले, हाँ प्लीज सुन लो ना. And then Amir Khan was sitting there with his entire family. And by the end of it, they were in tears and they were like, "Na sirf main isme act karunga, this will be my first production." And Lagan became a cult classic, as all of us know. Moving on. Ideation. And this is where we'll spend the most time. Because everything until this point is the background work, right? And the implementation wala stage, stage 4, very few people actually get to do that in Bollywood, right? Because most of them leave before it has happened, or most of them just join other people's ideas, right? I'll spend the most time here, because if you want to be a filmmaker, this is where you will spend the most time. Now, form. If you are writing a story, what form will it acquire, right? Will it be a film? Will it be a series? Will it be a short film? If it is a film, will it be a documentary film? Will it be a docu-fiction film? Will it be a fiction film? Will it be an animation film? These days, will it be a VR, AR film? Right? Generally, ये डिसीजन इतना कोई सोचता नहीं है. बहुत सिंपल होता है कि अगर आपके पास प्लॉट हैवी कहानी है, तो आप फिल्म बनाते हो. अगर आपके पास कैरेक्टर्स एंड वर्ल्ड हैवी कहानी है, तो आप सीरीज बनाते हो. और अगर आप कंगाल हो, तो आप शॉर्ट फिल्म बनाते हो. इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट. बॉलीवुड में यही होता है. बट लेट मी एक्सप्लेन दिस डिफरेंस बिटवीन प्लॉट एंड कैरेक्टर अ लिटिल बिट. यू वॉच ब्रेकिंग बैड? फर्स्ट शॉट में वॉल्टर वाइट वर्सेस सीजन 5 के लास्ट शॉट में वॉल्टर वाइट. आर दे टू सेपरेट पीपल? Fundamentally, the traits, the qualities, the unraveling of the person has happened, right? Jawan mein, frame 1 ka Shah Rukh Khan, the same person, the same characteristics could have stood in the last frame of Jawan and nothing would have changed. So the character has not evolved. It is all plot. When you have a plot heavy story, you make a film. Because a plot mein, a viewer is sitting for 2.5 hours, they need to feel a resolution at the end of the film. कि अच्छा, जो प्रॉमिस से अंदर घुसे थे वो खत्म हो गया, रिजॉल्व हो गया, सब कुछ रैप हो गया, मैं समझ गया क्या हो गया, बाय बाय. अब मेरा इस कहानी से कोई लेना देना नहीं, राइट? विच इज वाई अ लॉट ऑफ आर्टसी फिल्म्स जो लास्ट में रिजॉल्व नहीं होती, वो आपको नहीं पसंद आती. क्योंकि आई वाज लाइक, साला बोला था यार ये तुम 2 घंटा मेरा खराब कर दिया, लास्ट में भी वहीं लाके छोड़ा यार, तुमने क्या देख रहा हूँ. पर वो बोलते ही नहीं है, सोशल मीडिया पे जाके लिखते हो ग्रेट फिल्म, क्योंकि वहां पे प्रेस्टीज एसोसिएटेड होती है. So plot works for films, but when it comes to series, so even when we are pitching in Bombay, let's say we are pitching a series, we are not asked so much about plot. Thank you. We are asked characters कौन है, right? और वो किस world में है. So imagine the pitch of Big Bang Theory. वो क्या plot बोलेगा? हर episode में नया plot है. What plot will he say? Right? So what will he say? He'll say Sheldon. He'll say Sheldon is this idiot who's a genius. And he takes everything on face value. He does not understand social conventions. Okay? So if you are being sarcastic, he will respond with the truth. If you are pretending, he won't pretend. This is Sheldon. Then his fall guy is Leonard, who will be his flatmate, his best friend, who will bounce off against him. He will tolerate him, but he will also be the most socially acceptable within the group, right? Then there'll be a turkey named Howard who will evolve over time. He also evolved over time. Character season 1 he was too much of a turkey. Season 2 onward they were like boring ho raha hai, thoda sa change karo, right? And then there'll be an Indian Appu from Simpsons template who can't speak to a woman, but again that will change over time, right? So these are the characters. Essentially nerds, geeks, physicists, theorists, right? Chemists, who will now get a hot, blonde, typical, stereotypical, sexy, white girl as a neighbor. That is the world. And these are the characters. अब आप imagine कर लो. That is how a series is pitched. Of course, they'll ask you, अच्छा episode 1 में थोड़ा बता दो briefly, episode 2 तभी. But primarily, they will be thinking कि ये characters इस world में क्या मल्टीपल सीजन्स खींच भी सकते हैं या नहीं खींच सकते. सो मिनी सीरीज होती है, पता है? ट्रायल बाय फायर वाज अ मिनी सीरीज. एक season and then finished. Made Netflix पे mini series. Unorthodox mini series, just one season. Getting a mini series sanctioned is the hardest series to get sanctioned. Because just like in a film, people want sequels, in a series, they want seasons. Because they want के marketing budget अगले season से कम हो जाए. So, when you have an idea, what form will it take? Is a very important decision to arrive at. Because the journey of all forms will be entirely different. The writing journey, the pitching journey, the production journey, the release journey, everything will be different. Feature film hai, to you will want it to release in theaters or film festivals. Series hai, to only and only OTT platforms पे release हो सकता है. OTT पे नहीं हो रहा है तो YouTube पे होगा. Right? Short film है तो film festivals में जाओगे, YouTube पे जाओगे. Documentary है तो बहुत मुश्किल है release करना. Film festivals में जाओगे, again try करोगे, कोई platform लेता है, try करोगे गुनीत मोंगा लेके Oscars पहुंचा दे उसको. बहुत मुश्किल होता है. So everything changes. And TAT बोलते हैं startup world में, turnaround time. For a series, आजकल बॉलीवुड में कहा जाता है कि अगर आज आपने सीरीज पे काम करना शुरू किया और वो बहुत अच्छी भी है तो मिनिमम 5 साल समझ लेना जब तक ये बाहर आएगा. ठीक है. शॉर्ट फिल्म आप जैसे आज हम एंड में बनाएंगे 1 घंटे में बना सकते हो और बना के रिलीज करना अलग कहानी है पर बना सकते हो. सीरीज आप नहीं बना सकते, इट्स टू एक्सपेंसिव. राइट. सो फॉर्म क्या लेगा आपका आइडिया, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन टू अराइव. सेकेंड, treatment. I have this system when I watch films. Films I didn't enjoy or admire. Neither of the two. Worst for me. Films I admired but didn't enjoy. Second last for me. Films I enjoyed but didn't admire. Second for me. And best will be films I admire and enjoy. Okay? So I find that whole system के ये आर्ट फिल्म है, ये कमर्शियल फिल्म है, इसका बॉक्स ऑफिस इतना हुआ था, इससे ये हुआ था, वो I find that very reductive. Sometimes a great film makes less money. Sometimes an art film can really appeal to you. Sometimes a mainstream film will be a big put off to you. So all this traditional language I've never liked. But I found this to be a reasonable indicator of how I gauge what I think about a film. So, films I admired and enjoyed, I will put a 3 Idiots here. I loved the film. It was a blockbuster. But I also loved and admired its writing. Every single person could understand the true definition of education, enlightenment, through a comedy film. And they were going there for the jokes. They were going for the trailer. Amir Khan hai, Sharman hai, Madhavan hai. But what they came back with. Have you watched जाने भी दो यारो? थोड़ा young audience है उसके लिए. But people who are much older like Jatin will say that it is their favorite comedy film of that time. Because it was so socio-politically loaded and yet so amazingly funny. Have you watched Gravity? One of my favorite films of all time. Gravity का वो सीन है जिसमें सैंड्रा बुलक का वो जो पाइप है वो छूट जाती है और वो शी जस्ट कैमरा इधर ही रहता है, शी जस्ट गोज फ्लोटिंग 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 इनटू ब्लैक डीप स्पेस. I don't think I've ever felt as scared in a horror film as I felt in that scene. Can you imagine floating through outer space? You are alive and there is nothing and no one to pull you back to earth. Can you imagine? The scariest possible thing that can happen. And the interesting thing is Alfonso Cuarón, the director, after having made so many films that were so good, क्या Children of Men, Children of Men, एतु मामा तैम्बियन, बहुत सारी उसने फिल्म्स बनाई. It took him so many years to be able to make Gravity because the production house was like, नहीं, इसमें तो ना जॉर्ज क्लूनी और सैंड्रा बुलक का लव स्टोरी तो होना ही पड़ेगा. एंड यू लाइक ये लोग अमेरिकन एस्ट्रोनॉट्स इन स्पेस है तो एक हीरोज वेलकम सीन तो होना ही पड़ेगा कि वो यूएस का फ्लैग लहराया जाएगा और नेशनल एंथम बजेगी, वो तो होना ही पड़ेगा. यू लाइक तुम्हारा दिमाग खराब है. ग्रेविटी का लास्ट सीन इज पॉसिबली माई फेवरेट लास्ट सीन इन एनी फिल्म. यू रिमेंबर द लास्ट सीन? सैंड्रा बुलक लैंड्स ऑन प्लैनेट अर्थ after being away for a long time, after being deprived of gravity for a long time. She just comes, she lands by a lake or something, she falls there, and she just gets up. And she feels the weight of her body again. incredible scene. I watched that film thrice in a theater and the film is a blockbuster globally. But to be able to create a film that can give you an experience that you can never buy in your lifetime. Right? I mean, only a film can do that. Theater can't do that because theater is live action in front of you. But cinema can give you an experience that you never had in your life. So I'll put Gravity here. Which is a film that I'll put here. So for example, maybe, have you watched Hangama?
Yes.
Maybe Hangama I'll put here. I love it. I enjoyed Govinda David Dhawan. Have you watched all those films? Dulhe Raja, this, that, Deewana, Mastana, blah, blah, all of those films. I love them. But there's not much to admire there. In the writing, this, that, it's very simplistic but brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. Maybe a Jawan will also go here. Film I admired but didn't enjoy. A lot of art films will fall here. You know, so there was a film called Shoplifters, which was very critically acclaimed. I really admired it, but it took me multiple seatings to get the film finished, right? So, films I didn't enjoy or admire, 99.99% of everything. So when I say treatment, I mean this. एक कहानी को ये चारों तरह से कहा जा सकता है. Let's take a Parasite. Have you watched Parasite? Huh? All of you watched Parasite? If Parasite were made in a very artsy way, it would be Shoplifters, which is a Japanese film which had more critical acclaim than Parasite, but didn't have close to that box office or Oscar or blah, 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 blah. But Shoplifters, watch it. I mean, it's a similar story, but the treatment of Parasite, anyone can watch it and be like, what am I watching? The way it shifted genres, starts as almost a comedy, then goes to a satire, then becomes a thriller, becomes a horror, becomes a murder mystery, and ends in an artsy way. I don't remember any other film that has done that. So if your concept is this, okay, I want to show how poor people parasite rich people and rich people parasite poor people. How will you treat this idea? So what will be the treatment, the approach you will take to the idea that you have? A very important decision. The single most important defining factor of Bollywood is leverage. Single most important defining factor. And this applies in all fields, but you will feel it more in Bollywood because it's a very disorganized field. I mean, the money you make there is at the level of the Ambanis, but the disorganization is at the level of a street vendor. And it is the only domain in which both things coexist simultaneously. So leverage in ideation is very important because will you be able to write a Brahmastra and get it made right now? Do you have that leverage? So please don't waste time right now. I'm not saying Brahmastra is bad. Make it 10 years later when you have that leverage. Right now, be smart on what you can actually do. And it's not a film specific thing यार. Startups में, products में आप कैसे बनाओगे? जैसे मैंने कहा Zomato अभी नहीं बना सकते तो नहीं बना सकते. Tcules ने अभी जो भी product बनाया है वो experimental scale पे होगा. It won't be the kind where 5 years you'll have to pump in money to sustain this. नहीं हो सकता. Another example of leverage. Does someone know ये किस film के stats है? These are the stats of the Irishman. Okay? Watch that film? यार मैं तो घर पे देख रहा था पर मैं नहीं बैठ पाया सोफे पे वो 4 घंटे या 3.5 पौने 4 घंटे जो भी थे. There were bits I really liked, but it is simply too long for a feature film. View a series ka length. If there are, let's say 20 Modern Family, this, that, 20 minute के episodes हैं. Okay? And 10 episodes जाते हैं, then you will get 200 minutes. This is 209 minutes की एक feature film. Right? It was made at a budget of 150 to 250, very big range, but whatever it is, very large. When it released theatrically, it made $8 million. And he was still appreciated, lauded, awarded, and next got to make Killers of the Flower Moon with an equally excruciating runtime. This can happen when you have leverage. It cannot happen any other time. So here is my example of leverage. In the last 5 years, I directed 3 shorts, wrote 1 feature film, wrote 3 series, wrote 8 more short films, 1 documentary, 1 sketch, 6 ads, 1 project with dialogue, 6 other projects that I assisted in, spent 5 years, made no money. And then made a short film of my own, self-produced. After which, I got this film as a writer. And this is the film I was talking about. So Rajkumar Rao is playing Bhagat Singh, and that's a film that I am writing exclusively. To get this, 5 years of all of those short films, feature films, series, dialogues, blah, 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 no money, depression, lack of discipline, blah, 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 had to be endured. Only then could this happen. And it is very rare. You do not get such a big, and this is a commissioned film. You do not get such a big film as a first-time writer. But it is because I had so many scripts that were never made, but they were my own. That the quality appealed to people. The probability for success increased. Meetings with such people increased. And when they could take the leap of faith and do this. Otherwise, I have acquaintances and friends in Bollywood who are there 15 years, 10 साल से असिस्ट कर रहे, आज तक अपनी कोई फिल्म पे ना राइटिंग या डायरेक्शन में कुछ भी नहीं मिल पाया. Because if you don't gamble on yourself, no one can gamble on you. Even in our startup days when people used to come to us and ask funding कैसे मिली, मैं उनको सिंपल चीज पूछता था. अगर तुम्हारे बैंक अकाउंट में 1 करोड़ रुपया पड़ा है और तुम्हारे आइडिया को 1 करोड़ रुपए की जरूरत है, that 1 crore is the only money you have. Will you put that entire 1 crore on your idea? If you can't do that for your own idea, how are you expecting someone who just absolutely does not know you to put 1 crore on your idea? Leverage, हाँ, जब तक नहीं होता तब तक कोसते हैं. But over time we also understand कि यार सही भी है ना. It is an expensive art form. It takes 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 crores to make a film. If it works, you can make 8,000 crores. So it is not that you walk into someone's office and say, great idea, और हो गया. ऐसे नहीं होगा ना. It will of course be harder than that. So you will have to work towards gaining that leverage. A lot of people in the Gujarati film industry are, hey यार क्या कचरा बन रहा है यहाँ पे, ये बन रहा है. ऐसे तो करो, तोड़ो उसको, निकलो यहाँ से बाहर, या खुद का पैसा डालो, बनाओ. Very broadly, I'll run over some of these concepts. एक स्क्रिप्ट सबको पता है ना क्या होती है. तो एक स्क्रिप्ट की जर्नी क्या होती है? It begins here and it goes here. So it begins with what is called a log line. A log line is one line, जिसको स्टार्टअप भाषा में आप एलिवेटर पिच भी बोलते हैं. What is the literal definition of elevator pitch? कि भाई you are together in a lift, in an elevator with an investor, and by the time you get out अपना पूरी बात बोल देंगे. That is an elevator pitch, right? So a log line. 2 friends go to find their long missing friend. 3 idiots की log line. Was that the plot? No. But that is a log line. तो IMDb पे आपको जो ऊपर एक लाइन दिखती है वो log line है. जब आप गूगल करते हो किसी फिल्म को, राइट में जो छोटा सा डिस्क्रिप्शन आता है वो log line. तो log line for a filmmaker is the north star of a film. So log line, एक लाइन में आपकी फिल्म क्या है? And I know it takes a lot of security to be able to articulate in one line. And the primary problem there is insecurity. नहीं मैं enough नहीं बोलूंगा तो लोगों को पसंद नहीं आएगा, और बताना पड़ेगा. हमेशा स्टार्टअप वर्ड में तेरा स्टार्टअप क्या है, वो आधा घंटा बोलेगा फिर भी मुझे समझ नहीं आएगा कि उसका स्टार्टअप क्या है. एंड देन एट द एंड आई आस्क के प्रोडक्ट लाइव है, नहीं बोले हाँ, तो मैंने कहा प्रोडक्ट दिखा दे ना, बक क्यों रहा है. बट द प्रोडक्ट दिखा के भी कुछ नहीं समझ आता बिकॉज दैट क्लैरिटी वाज नेवर देयर. दैट इज व्हाई आई आस्क्ड व्हाई डू यू वांट टू डू समथिंग. इट बिगिंस देयर. It absolutely begins there. So log line is that one line. Okay? What is a synopsis? A synopsis is one paragraph. Expand that one line into one paragraph. Okay? So what is an outline? An outline is a numbered list of every scene in the film. Scene number 1. Baap Shahrukh Khan will be floating in a river. Okay? Scene number 2. Shah Rukh Khan will be rescued by a northeastern village. Scene number 3, the village will be attacked by so-and-so militant group. Scene number 4, a crossfire and a heavy battle will ensue in which Shah Rukh Khan will go and rescue the villagers. So a list of every single scene. This is the skeleton of your film. And generally this is the hardest and longest part of this entire process. क्योंकि पूरी की पूरी फिल्म आपको दिख रही है सामने. आपको दिख रहा है पहला सीन क्या है, लास्ट सीन क्या है, इंटरवल कहाँ होगा, और दूसरे लोग एस्टिमेट कर रहे हैं पैसा कमाएगी या नहीं, स्टार करेगा या नहीं, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, वो सब यहां पता चल जाता है. तो एक्चुअली दिस इज अ वेरी लीन प्रोटोटाइपिंग वर्जन ऑफ मेकिंग अ फिल्म. कि अगर आप पूरा स्क्रीन प्ले लिख के अपनी बात कह सकते हो ऐसा ही है, तो फिर भाई आपकी फिल्म अच्छी नहीं. क्योंकि आउटलाइन में फिल्म अपील करनी चाहिए, वरना नहीं करनी चाहिए. आपको समझ आ जाएगा आउटलाइन में कि ये फिल्म होनी चाहिए, सीरीज होनी चाहिए, ये प्रोड्यूसर को पसंद आएगी नहीं आएगी, ये एक्टर करेगा नहीं करेगा, आज के टाइम में चलता है नहीं चलता है, इज इट लाइक सो एंड सो फिल्म, नॉट, ब्ला 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 ब्ला. That is your outline. What is the treatment? Once you have figured out the outline, once you have locked, repaired, changed, shifted around, once you have locked the outline, your entire story written in running prose is the treatment. 25 पेज की स्टोरी लिख दी आपने पूरी की पूरी. आउटलाइन को बेस लिया, लॉगलाइन को बेस लेके सिनॉप्सिस लिखा, सिनॉप्सिस को बेस लेके आउटलाइन लिखा, आउटलाइन को बेस लेके अगर आप पूरी की पूरी कहानी लाइक अ बुक 25 पेज में लिख सकते हो, 30 पेज में लिख सकते हो, दैट इज योर ट्रीटमेंट. कि पूरी कहानी मैं पढ़ रहा हूं, अब डिटेल में पढ़ रहा हूं, दैट इज योर ट्रीटमेंट. फ्रॉम हियर यू गो टू योर स्क्रीन प्ले. स्क्रीन प्ले क्वाइट लिटरली इज व्हाट विल बी प्लेड ऑन स्क्रीन, राइट? सो स्क्रीन प्ले का एक फॉर्मेट होता है. सीन 1, you're supposed to first define whether this shot is an interior shot or an exterior shot or an interior-exterior mixed shot. You're supposed to define. Why? Because interior या exterior होने से फिल्म का उस प्लानिंग का सब कुछ बदल जाएगा. लाइटिंग चेंज हो जाएगी, दिन में करना है रात में करना, सब कुछ बदल जाएगा. So the first scene के टाइटल में आपको लिखना पड़ेगा कि INT, interior. This is the first thing you are defining in the title. The next thing you are defining in the title is the location. Drawing room, rancho's ancestral home. ये आपके location. Day. Otherwise, it could be night. If it is very important to you, it could be morning. It could be evening. If it is very important. Why? Because as I said, lighting changes everything. So अगर day है लेकिन इंटीरियर है, तो योर सिनेमेटोग्राफर विल बी लाइक, अच्छा थोड़ा खिड़की में से थोड़ी लाइट ले सकते हैं और बाकी लाइट हमको यहां से प्लान करनी पड़ेगी. बट अगर नाइट है तो बाहर से कोई लाइट सोर्स ही नहीं है, तो एवरीथिंग चेंजेस. सो दिस इज द हेडिंग ऑफ एवरी सीन एंड देन यू राइट योर सीन्स. सो आउटलाइन में जो 1 2 3 लिखा था उसी को आप यहां एक्सपैंड कर रहे हो सीन बाय सीन. और स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग का, स्क्रीन प्ले का एक फंडामेंटल रूल होता है जो हम सब भूल जाते हैं, और वो रूल 3 वर्ड का होता है. Says show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. Which you will right now see in the filmmaking exercise, which we are about to begin. That is the hardest part of writing a film. हमने बचपन से जो सुनी है कहानियां, दादी की कहानियां, नानी की कहानियां, स्कूल में कहानियां, फेसबुक पे कहानियां, किताबों में कहानियां, वो बुक्स में कहानियां थी, वो फिल्म्स नहीं थी. तो आप मुझे, व्हाट्स योर नेम? प्रतीक. तो मैं लिख सकता हूं कि as Pratik sits in his black t-shirt, black pant with his feet curved towards the speaker, he contemplates about the morning he had with his girlfriend. The breakfast that she didn't have, she yelled at him. He's carried that trauma on the way to the Tcules office and is now sitting and is extremely bored of this stupid speaker while he's listening to him. ये मैं बुक में लिख सकता हूं. फिल्म में कैसे लिखोगे? कैमरा इधर होगा, आप कैसे बताओगे कि सुबह में नाश्ता में इसकी गर्लफ्रेंड ने इसको लाफा मारा और इसको अभी मैं नहीं पसंद आ रहा हूं? कैसे बताओगे? कैसे बताओगे उसके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है? कैसे बताओगे सुबह क्या हुआ था, कल क्या हुआ था? कैसे बताओगे? दैट इज द मोस्ट फंडामेंटल मिस्टेक beginner screenwriters make. They write she sat there and reminisced about her past, the trauma as a child, the trauma of her failed marriage, the trauma. Arey kaise? How will you reminisce? So every single thing has to be shown, not told. हर चीज. तो अगर यही चीज बतानी है तो Pratik was sitting. He was looking at the speaker, but he seemed distracted. His eyes were going away from the speaker at all times. Your name? Kathan. Sitting next to Pratik was Kathan. Kathan asked dialogue, "Are you okay?" Pratik said, "छोड़ना यार." तो अब लग रहा है अच्छा कुछ है पर पता नहीं है क्या है. Kathan asked, नहीं और बता. प्रतीक कह रहा है अभी हम इवेंट में, अभी कैसे बताऊं? पर ठीक है चल बाथरूम जाते हैं. अब वो लोग वहां गए. सीन एंड्स. नेक्स्ट सीन. इंटीरियर Tcules ऑफिस बाथरूम डे. कथन आज चल अब आ गए, अब तो बता. छोड़ना यार, गर्लफ्रेंड के साथ बहुत झगड़ा हो गया. हमेशा वाला या कुछ नया? ये बात आपको ऐसे बतानी पड़ेगी. शो, डोंट टेल. सो इफ यू लाइक फिल्म्स रियली ना, most of the screenplays of famous films are available online for free. Just download them. And one very good exercise to do, VLC को आधा हाफ स्क्रीन में रखो टॉप पे, नीचे PDF रखो स्क्रीनप्ले का, सीन देखो, उसका स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ो, फिर प्ले करो, अगला सीन पढ़ो, फिर प्ले करो, अगला सीन पढ़ो. दिस इज द बेस्ट फिल्म स्कूल फॉर अ स्क्रीन प्ले राइटर. कि कैसे लिखा था वो कैसे निकला. लास्ट इज द शूटिंग ड्राफ्ट. सो ये स्क्रीन प्ले राइटर ने अपने कंप्यूटर पे बैठ के लिख लिया. अब इसमें डायरेक्टर कम्स इन, एडीज कम इन, दे मेक देयर नोट्स, दे ऐड थिंग्स, दे मेक इट मोर सिनेमैटिक. बिकॉज जाने अनजाने राइटर शो डोंट टेल नहीं कर पाता. डायरेक्टर विल कमेंट से इसको यार इस तरह से करना चाहिए, उस तरह से करना. परफेक्ट रेडी होगा, उसमें मार्किंग्स होंगे, स्क्रिबलिंग ढाक ढाक ढाक, एंड देन वो होगा जो उस दिन शूट के दिन सबके हाथ में सबको दिया जाएगा कि दिस इज व्हाट वी आर शूटिंग. इज द न्यूक्लियस ऑफ अ फिल्म. एवरीवन ऑन सेट इज सपोज्ड टू हैव इट इन देयर हैंड्स. बिकॉज आपके मेकअप दादा हैं, मेकअप दादा को पर डे हायर किया गया है, उनको कुछ बताया नहीं गया है, तो उस दिन आए हैं, उनको कहना कि आज मुझे इस एक्टर पे क्या मेकअप करना है, उनको कैसे पता चलेगा. तो असिस्टेंट डायरेक्टर्स उनके साथ बैठेंगे, बोलेंगे आज इस पूरी स्क्रिप्ट में से ये 4 शॉट कर रहे हैं जिसमें एक्टर को अभी प्रतीक को दुखी लगना जरूरी है, तो प्रतीक को आप वैसा मेकअप करो कि दुखी लगे, पर बहुत ज्यादा दुखी भी नहीं कि सबको दिख जाए और सब लोग चढ़ जाए. थोड़ा ऐसा दुख होना चाहिए जो खाली कथन को दिख रहा है, तो मेकअप आर्टिस्ट वैसे करेगा. तो एवरीथिंग के लिए स्क्रिप्ट इज द फंडामेंटल न्यूक्लियस. ओके. लास्ट, there is a lot of confusion among a lot of people about the differences in these terms. Okay? And does anyone know act क्या होता है? Forget film. Any storytelling. Generally, it is said a story is told in 3 acts. Generally. The beginning is Act 1. The rise of the conflict is Act 2. And the climax or resolution is Act 3. So Act 2 is longest. Act 1 and 3 are small. Generally ऐसा कहा जाता है. अब वो series में some people are like 6 acts, 8 acts, blah 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 blah. But act will largely be what? Act will be, so for example, if we take the example of 3 Idiots, from Madhavan being in the plane to perhaps Ali Fazal dying, Ali Fazal committing suicide, perhaps maybe Act 1. And that Ali Fazal scene may be your entry into Act 2, because that is where the conflict really escalates. कि उसको तुम्हें क्या लगता है, तुम्हें ये कॉलेज मुझसे बेहतर चला सकते हो, बमन ईरानी उससे लड़ता है, right? So that may be Act 1. Then from here may be Act 2, and maybe till Mona Singh delivers the baby may be Act 2. क्योंकि everything with Baman Irani is resolved there, right? और उसके बाद वो फ्रेंड्स गए लद्दाख और ढूंढा और सब कुछ किया, that may be Act 3. Broadly speaking. Now, what is a sequence? A sequence is a group of scenes which are by and large part of the same plot point. So, for example, okay, for explaining this, let me explain what a scene is. Does someone know what a scene is? Scene क्या होता है? हम लोग बहुत बोलते हैं ये scene क्या होता है scene? What is the definition of a scene?
लाइक एक फ्रेम में कितनी चीजें कैप्चर कर सकते एक टाइम पे, तो वहां पे हम सीन करें.
नहीं, वो शॉट में आ जाएगा.
शॉर्ट में
जो आपने जैसे यहाँ पे मेंशन किया लोकेशन और वैसे, तो वो जहाँ तक वो शॉट रहेगा, जैसे इंटीरियर बाथरूम डे वाला है तो वो एक सीन हुआ, फिर वहां से लोकेशन चेंज होगा, मतलब सीन चेंज हो रहा है.
You're getting close, you're halfway there.
हाँ.
और 50% है. Change of, yes, and he got half of it. Change of space and one more thing. Situation को थोड़ा और evolve करो. Change of space and time. Change of space and time is a new scene. Very simple. वेरी वेरी सिंपल. सो अभी प्रतीक और कथन यहाँ पे बात कर रहे थे. सीन 1 इंटीरियर टीक्यूल्स ऑफिस डे. उसने कहा चल बाथरूम में बात करते हैं. अब मैं दिखा नहीं रहा हूं उनको बाथरूम में जाते हुए, बट वो चले गए. टाइम हैज पास्ड, स्पेस हैज चेंज्ड. सीन 2.
This is in some manner a characterization of larger to smaller also, right? Now assume that you're talking about a film like what's that war movie 1970, yeah. And that's more of a it's going, right? So so you're not changing time necessarily, but the location is changing.
So that's a very good question. For films like that, the whole conventional theories of scripts completely go for a toss. And not just the writing, but even the shooting completely. Because essentially you are shooting in one trench, and then some locations with. But most of the film is spent in one trench. Most of the films are long takes, single takes. तो उनको पूरी filmmaking grammar बदल देनी पड़ती. So this is a scene. What is a shot? Does anyone know what is a shot? What is a shot? Quickly, what's the definition of a shot? यहाँ पे अभी सब कुछ शूट हो रहा है. क्या है डेफिनेशन शॉट का? रिकॉर्ड बटन दबाया तो शॉट चालू हुआ. जैसे ही रिकॉर्ड बटन वापस दबा के बंद किया, शॉट खत्म हो गया. सो रिकॉर्ड टू कट, दैट्स नॉट अ टेक, इट्स अ शॉट. रिकॉर्ड टू कट इज अ शॉट. तो सीन यही है, प्रतीक और कथन का सीन है. लेकिन पहले शॉट में कैमरा यहां रख रहा हूं, ये दोनों मुझे दिखाने हैं या नहीं. कथन के स्टेट ऑफ माइंड में डाइव करना है ना, सॉरी प्रतीक के स्टेट ऑफ माइंड में डाइव, तो पहले उसका मुंह दिखाना है. तो पहले मैं शॉट यहां रखा, उसका फेस का क्लोजअप है. रिकॉर्ड, वो डिस्ट्रैक्टेड है, वो इधर उधर देख रहा है, वो ऐसा कर रहा है. कट, शॉट खत्म हो गया. अब मुझे दिखाना है प्रतीक के बगल में कथन बैठा है, तो मैं थोड़ा पीछे आया, ऐसे रखा, शॉट, दोनों दिख रहे हैं, वो उसकी तरफ देख रहा है, ये इधर देख रहा है, कट, ये शॉट खत्म हो गया. सीन एक ही चल रहा है. एडिटर साहब आपको पता होगा, ये एक और भी कोई एडिटर, शॉट से तुम्हारी जिंदगी शॉट से ही तो खराब होती है, राइट? सो दैट इज अ शॉट. व्हाट इज अ टेक? यहां पहला शॉट प्रतीक का लिया, उसने फकअप कर दिया, उसने एक्ट ही नहीं किया अच्छा, पीछे कोई खड़ा पात दिया, साउंड बिगड़ गया, वो टेक 1 हुआ. उसी शॉट का एक और वर्जन, टेक 2, टेक 3, शॉट वही है, सीन भी लार्जर वही है, वो सीन उस सीक्वेंस में है, वो सीक्वेंस उस एक्ट में है, वो एक्ट उस स्क्रीन प्ले में. Those are the building blocks.
Before we move further, I just want to ask about this specific terminology. Okay, in filmmaking, mise en scene.
mise en scene.
Yeah, it's pronounced mise en scene.
Okay, mise en scene.
So
Can you
mise
please
en scene is basically everything that you see in a shot. So the arrangement of your props, the blocking मतलब कहाँ पे actors खड़े रहेंगे, exactly कहाँ कैमरा रखा गया है, this is the mise en scene. तो वेस एंडरसन के mise en scene को बहुत सेलिब्रेट किया था, because of the framing and the props and the colors and the costume. So slightly advanced concept, mise en scene, very good. It actually came from theater. कि थिएटर में उस सेट पे, स्टेज पे क्या कहाँ रखा जाएगा exactly, उस सीन का mise en scene होता था. तो फिल्म में फ्लूइड हो जाता है क्योंकि कैमरा हिलता है, सब कुछ होता है, बट टर्म हैज कैरीड फॉरवर्ड कूल लगने के लिए.
Who is responsible for that whole thing?
Ultimate responsibility of the film is on the producer. Okay, I'll just spend a minute answering producer करता क्या है. Startup भाषा में producer is the CEO. So a script writer goes to a producer, a director goes to a producer, everyone goes to the producer. क्या producer अपना खुद का पैसा डालता है? Hardly कभी. So जैसे एक CEO एक स्टार्टअप का इन्वेस्टर के पास जाके फंडिंग रेज करेगा, उसी तरह प्रोड्यूसर भी बाहर से पैसा रेज करता है. बट प्रोड्यूसर है जो कहता है मेरी जिम्मेदारी ये फिल्म बनवाने की. तो मैं राइटर से स्क्रिप्ट लूंगा, मैं डायरेक्टर ढूंढूंगा, एक्टर्स से मेरा नेटवर्किंग है, मैं एक्टर्स ढूंढूंगा, मैं जाके स्टूडियो ढूंढूंगा अंदर पैसा डालने के लिए या इन्वेस्टर्स ढूंढूंगा, मैं जाके नेटफ्लिक्स से बात करूंगा, मैं डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर से बात करूंगा, मेरी लीगल टीम बैठ के पूरा लीगल करेगी, बैंकिंग टीम बैंकिंग करेगी, मेरे असिस्टेंट्स और प्रोडक्शन असिस्टेंट जाके लोकेशन ढूंढेंगे, स्काउटिंग करेंगे, परमिशन लेंगे, सिनेमाटोग्राफर ढूंढेंगे, एडीज ढूंढेंगे, पूरी टीम बनाएंगे. मेरी जिम्मेदारी. प्रोड्यूसर ये करता है. डायरेक्टर इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल अल्टीमेटली फॉर व्हाट यू सी ऑन स्क्रीन. स्क्रीन पे जो दिखा, जो सुना, वो डायरेक्टर की जिम्मेदारी. Captain of the ship on set is a director. And it is amazing to me कि for a field that is so disorganized, जैसे shoot पे सब आते हैं ना, एक बिन लिखा करार है, सब में एक religious belief है कि director ने जो बोला ना वो final. I'm like यार तुम साला set पे आते ही कैसे transform हो जाते हो? 1 घंटा पहले तक तो इतने आरामी थे, ना फोन उठा रहे थे, कुछ भी नहीं सुन रहे थे, कोई बात नहीं, बट सेट पे आते ही इट्स लाइक गेम फेस ऑन. वो है, वो फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में एस्टैब्लिश्ड है. So, let's make a film. To be able to make the film here, it needs to be a one scene film. Take 5 minutes, write it on your phones.
एक डिज़ाइनर बंदा है, वो अपना काम अच्छे से कर रहा है और उसका जो क्लाइंट का प्रपोजल है उसके हिसाब से उस मॉकअप कर रहा है. आज उसकी डेडलाइन है, उसकी जो भी टीम है उनसे उन्होंने कंसर्न किया, वो सब हैप्पी है. और सडनली एक टीम डेवलपमेंट टीम से जो टीम लीड है वो बंदा आता है और वो उसको इनपुट देने लगता है कि नहीं ये ऐसा है वैसा है. और टाइम सिर्फ 15 मिनट्स के बाद उसका कॉल है क्लाइंट के साथ.
Okay.
अब वो जो बंदा था उसका स्टेट ऑफ माइंड पूरा वो चेंज करने का तो उसने सिर्फ नॉर्मल जैसे ये डेस्क पे बैठा है और आधा ड्रॉअर खोलता है. पहला ड्रॉअर में आधा में नाइफ रहता है.
So Kalpesh is the writer, I will direct it just to make things fast. One out of Jatin और Rakesh is the producer. So director, writer, producer, acting कौन करना चाहता है? हाँ ये कम. The Shogi will be our cinematographer. Sahil will handle the sound. Preksha will be our clapper. Come, logger and editor. So this is your crew of this film. And all of us are involved as either extra actors but we have to sort of make this happen. Okay, chalo. Now the counter is done.